driving up to Tahoe. So if you're looking to get away for the day or a weekend, remember the Tides Wharf and the Inn at the Tides in beautiful Bodega Bay. Hey, it's Marty, and I'm here to tell you that it's time to discover the islands, River Islands, that is. They're celebrating 10 years of bringing the good life to Bay Area homebuyers. Last time I checked, there are 25 model homes open for touring. They range from 3 to 7, yes, I said 7 bedrooms, and up to 4,500 square feet. Homes are priced, as usual, from the $600,000s to just over $1 million. Start your tour online at riverislands.com. Isn't it time for you to discover the islands? You know it is for me.
Seam heads. Our Giants game day coverage begins now.
It's the mosaic.
So before gloves start popping,
diving, he makes the catch,
and bats start cracking,
it is gone.
We bring you the voice of Bay Area baseball for the past 29 years.
As I always say, baseball reflects what life is all about.
This is Talkin' Baseball with Marty Laurie.
That's what we do. We talk ball.
On KNBR, the sports leader.
And good morning, everybody, and welcome to Talkin' Baseball on this beautiful Sunday morning. I hope you put your clocks ahead. And if you're on Arizona time, you're also on Pacific time as well, as it's 11 a.m. and ready to talk baseball with you here on KNBR 680 104.5. Well, the Giants are playing good ball down here in Arizona. They win again yesterday against the Kansas City Royals 7-3, and the home runs are flying all over the place. Mike Yastrzemski doing well. David VR, he's got to find a spot somewhere in the big leagues. They've got to give him a chance someplace. Matt Chapman continues to hit the ball hard, playing great defense. And Giants win yesterday 7-3, and they run their record to 8-3. And down here in the Cactus League, the only team that's any better are the Cubs. And the Cubs are in game mode, so to speak, because they open up with the Dodgers in less than 2 weeks in that two-game series in Tokyo. So that's a story on a beautiful morning. So it's a split squad today for the Giants. The San Diego Padres will be coming in here in Scottsdale, and they'll bring Nick Pivetta in, and they'll be going against Jordan Hicks. And I've said this before, he's the best pitcher I've ever seen in spring training. Guy comes in throwing 100. And if he can get that breaking stuff over the plate and just go as far as he can, Jordan Hicks can be very effective. Over at Sloan Park in Mesa, or Scottsdale, wherever you want to say it is, it's right on the border. Landon Roop, who really has a real shot at becoming the fifth starter here. We'll see what happens with Harrison. And Keaton Wynn pitched great yesterday. But Roop goes today, and he's gone over 8 innings, and there was 1 walk, 11 strikeouts, and a hit or 2. So he'll go against a Cub team that is playing most of their regulars on this Sunday at Sloan Park. So we'll see what happens there. The Giants lineup today, Ramos is in there, Adames, Lee, Chapman, Flores, Bailey, Yastrzemski, Encarnacion, Wisely. Again, a lot of veterans in there for the Giants. And Bob Melvin, they're trying to get a new identity, which we'll talk about this morning. They're trying to go first to third. They're trying to cut down on the strikeouts. They're trying to play better baseball. And that's what Buster Posey has been preaching here, better baseball. And you can tell they are playing better baseball, so that's been nice to see. Mardi Gras is coming up April the 3rd. It's just about sold out. I know I got a couple of requests this week. If you do want to go, martylurie@yahoo.com. You better get that request in this week for sure. This is going to be a huge event at the Original Joe's in North Beach on April the 3rd. That is Mardi Gras. Also, our YouTube show is going great. Going terrific. It's Marty Lurie and friends talking baseball, talking ball, however you want to put it down there. And we've got over 1,000 subscriptions. Please subscribe. Our show this week, we may have Sean Jelly back this week. I said, bring a friend. So we'll see what we do. But if you subscribe, it's usually on Thursdays about 6 p.m. Pacific. It just depends on what's going on during the week. But if you subscribe, you'll know. YouTube, it's been a lot of fun. So Marty Lurie and friends talking ball on YouTube. So give that a look as well. All right, we've got baseball coming up. Bruce Jenkins is next right here on the Sports Leader.
Talking baseball with Marty Lurie on KNBR 104.5 and 680, the Sports Leader.
Fans, it's great to have Rick Robin back with us. Rick Robin Construction, Napa.com. Rick, it's great to have you with us. Last year, a major honor for you. You're the Napa Contractor of the Year. How about that?
Yes, and it wasn't any advertising or anything. The customers voted, and I finished number one.
I love it. Napa Valley Contractor of the Year. Rick, the things you specialize in, it's things that people need, and you take it from beginning to end. Let's go through the list.
We specialize in kitchens and baths. That's our main source. We do whole home remodels, brand new homes. We do ADUs. We do all your construction needs. Anything you need, just give us a call.
And the phone number is 707-332-7575. And, of course, on the web, it's Rick Robin, ROBBEN, ConstructionNapa.com. Rick, great to have you back with us. I look forward to a great season with you.
So it's going to be great. Give us a call and talk to Tammy. If you like our quote, we'll take you down to our showroom. We'll pick out all your material and look forward to working with everybody.
Fans, the things I love about Rick, he does all the work. That's for me.
Look through the window of the Original Joe's on North Beach and you'll see two guys at the counter talking ball. Time for you to listen in to their conversation. Marty Lurie and the SF Chronicles' Bruce Jenkins are looking through the window of baseball. Sponsored by Original Joe's of North Beach and Westlake on KNBR 104.5 and 680, the Sports Leader.
Fans, it's great to have you back with us on this Sunday morning. We welcome in Bruce Jenkins of the Chronicle. Bruce, it's great to have you with us. The Giants are rolling. The juggernaut is rolling down here in Arizona. They're 8-3. They're only behind the Cubs. How do you like it?
Well, the record, it matters a little bit, but it just, as you watch it, there's just so many nice things happening. the home runs, the left side of the infield, the depth of the pitching staff. I love seeing Yaz. Yaz is sometimes he has trouble with that high fastball, but he got one yesterday and yanked it out of there. Matt Chapman has serious off-field power. That's one of the first things I noticed about him when he first got to in the big leagues with the A's. And VR goes deep. Who knows where that leads? But there's just it seems like there's a really good feeling around the team. And I don't think there are any serious injuries that you wonder what's going on with Harrison. But, all in all, I think it's been a really good spring.
Yeah, it has. And again, injuries are the key. You just want to get out of here. The Mets had another injury today. Alvarez, their catcher, a hamate bone. Minaya is out. Montos is out. Look at the Yankees. Garrett Cole, the elbow.
Oh, that's bad.
That hurts. Gil is out for a few months.
Oh, my goodness.
Stanton may need surgery. Isn't that funny how, you look and say, okay, this team is going to be this way, and then injuries dictate the season?
Yeah, I mean, the Yanks, they lose Soto. They made some nice pickups, Fried and Bellinger, and they're feeling good. But, I mean, Cole and Stanton, those are mainstays. Cole's the anchor of that rotation. He sounds like he's worried, and it's the elbow. And Stanton, both of his elbows, he just says flat out it's severe problems with both of his elbows. So, I mean, it's rough. It's like, last night LeBron James goes down for maybe some weeks, and it's like everything changes,
Yeah, that's the story of baseball. It's incredible. Yeah. The pitching, and I said it earlier in the show, today Hicks is going in one game, Roop is going in the other one, Keaton Wynn, you probably saw him yesterday. Yeah. Bruce, the pitching is very solid, and look, it's spring training. It's here. No one's going 9. Gaylord Perry's not coming back. But they do throw strikes, and they do things as pitchers that you like to see them do and not be careless. That's what I like. Yeah.
I love Posey having such a big say. I love Verlander. He's going to be monitoring these guys. If he sees guys just slacking off somehow and not paying attention to detail, not throwing strikes, he's just going to let them know in a positive way. He's just such a good influence. But, the rotation looks really good. Excuse me.
Yeah.
But they have depth, and that's the biggest thing. I mean, when you talk about Birdsong and Roop and Hicks and hopefully Harrison gets it back, there's an awful lot there. Keaton Wynn with that splitter looked tremendous yesterday.
Yeah.
So this is kind of where they're at, and it's pretty cool.
Yeah, and I always like to remember Jelly, and I say he stands out from the others. He does.
He stands out. He stands out when he's just standing.
Yeah, at 6'11", he stands out, but he's made a nice step forward. So, you wrote an interesting column yesterday, and you can read it online at the Chronicle about the Dodger pitching, and somehow, just to follow up the Giant pitching a little bit, that the Giant pitching could be better.
Well, it could. I mean, the Dodgers have they've got the stardom. Ohtani, for heaven's sake. Glasnow has been one of the best. Yamamoto has been fantastic. The kid Sasaki is a real sensation, and Blake Snell. But, most of these guys, and a lot of the kids that they have, Stone and Bobby Miller and so many of their prospects, almost all of them have had Tommy John surgery. Ohtani's coming off his second one. These guys went into the World Series with a rotation that no longer exists. Flaherty and maybe Buehler and a little bit of Yamamoto, and it just shows you how vulnerable they can be. All of their rotation guys, Glasnow, Ohtani, Yamamoto, Sasaki, except for Snell, have had serious issues in the past. So, I don't wish ill on any of them. I hope everybody's healthy for both teams. I hope it's just a full-on attack with full strength. But, I'm just saying it's possible that as good as the Giants look and as vulnerable as the Dodgers can be, it's conceivable where Giants fans could think that.
Well, that's what makes a baseball season. You got to play the games. I want to touch on Chapman for a second. He's got 4 home runs this spring, plays deep. We'll talk with Woe a little bit later on about Chapman. The ball doesn't get past him down the line. I remember Eric Chavez used to camp out on the line, so the ball never would go past him. But this guy plays off the line, and he covers ground. And Adames could be more up the middle because Chapman's going to go to his left. There is something to that.
Well, yeah, and, Adames doesn't have such an ego that, he wants everything to his right and he wants to show off his arm from the hole, which is fine. He can do that. But, Chapman wants to swallow everything that's coming to his left, especially if it's on the slower side. And, he and Adames, they both know that's going to be Chapman's ball. Why not? I think, for years, he and Arenado are from the same part of the world, right? And Arenado was the best third baseman in baseball, and Lord knows we saw unbelievable evidence at the Giants Park year after year of Arenado's defense. But Chapman has caught up, and right now I think you have to put him at the top. Arenado, you don't need, he's going to be traded. He's getting a little older, but meanwhile Chapman is absolutely in his prime, and what a blessing. That whole left side of the infield is just really inspiring.
Can Chapman somehow get his way into a Hall of Fame consideration when it's all said and done, or is it just
no? It's too late. The hitting,
too late.
The hitting hasn't been there. Aurelio Rodriguez was a hell of a third baseman too. But the standards of third baseman in the Hall of Fame, Eddie Matthews, Kenny Boyer, all the way back to Pie Traynor. Oh my God, And Brooks Robinson was an underrated hitter. You've got to hit, and he hasn't. He can hit for sure, and he's got a lot of power, and he might have an awakening. But I don't know. I think he's put up too many sort of average hitting numbers to have people suddenly thinking that way.
Okay. Aurelio Rodriguez, what an arm.
Yeah.
I do remember that. He threw the ball so hard from third to first that the pitcher Mickey Lolich would have to get down so he wouldn't get hit by the ball. You can look it up, fans. Aurelio Rodriguez.
Yeah, I don't know how that name popped into my head.
He was fabulous.
Yeah, Greg Nettles was a tremendous third baseman and a real good hitter. He's not in the Hall. It's a tough hang.
Yeah, maybe I'll put Chapman maybe a little bit like Nettles. Maybe Nettles had more power, but okay, we'll do with that. I'm falling in love with this automated ball strike thing, Bruce.
Oh, yeah.
I just think it works. It's a very short intrusion. The fans get involved because you can see it, just like tennis right on the board. You can see it, and the fans become engaged. I think they ought to do it right now. I wouldn't wait.
I know, and it's kind of sloppy that they don't have it in every park. I mean, the Giants only get 11 games with this, and some teams have like in the high 20s. It should have. If you're going to bring it in, bring it in. I can see it's kind of an odd expense when that Giants Park is really only good for these games. It's not a multi-use stadium where two teams don't share it and all that. But in any case, just the tap of the head, all the cranky guys, Scherzer, they're all going to get it. I mean, it's not that big of a deal. I think it's going to come down to a late inning thing. You don't want to blow a challenge and suddenly you don't have it. When there's second and third and you just struck out on a pitch is a ball. I mean, so it's going to be great in the late innings. And you know what else I was thinking about? Every now and then somebody like a Bryce Harper or somebody will take a third strike that he just can't stand, and he'll slam the bat down, and he's tossed out of the game. Now where are you? The ump is the story. If he just taps his head, at least he gets some justice, maybe from the computer. So it's really interesting. I mean, to get everybody's strike zone exactly right is going to be tricky. I think the strike zone itself is hard to pin down exactly. Every time I see that little box, the top of the box is at the belt. What happened to the letters? It's not a strike anymore. So I mean, there's a lot of things, but I really like it.
Yeah, I'm with you. I just think it adds to the game. It really does. A couple of interesting parts of things that happened in baseball. The great Hack Wilson was inducted into the Hall of Fame, and he was a Chicago Cub in 1930, and they basically using a golf ball in those days to score runs. He hit 56 home runs, drove in 190, then late in life drove in 191. I guess he came back from the dead to do that. But he did go in the Hall of Fame, and there's one great story, and I'll tell Wotus' story as well. Boom Boom Beck, the pitcher, got walloped all the time, pitching in Philly, the Baker Bowl, a tin right field. Hack Wilson known for drinking and hangovers. Boom Boom's out of the game. He's upset, throws the ball to right field, hits the tin wall. Hack Wilson fields it, throws a strike to second base. And he's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, when we grew up following, reading like the Fireside Book of Baseball, which I did. I devoured those books, and there's a shot of this guy, Hack Wilson. He's only about 5'6", you know.
Yeah.
And and looks like a coal miner or something. But just 56 homers, you just got to love that. And plus, you really have to admire a guy who gets an extra hit and an RBI when he's no longer with us. So
size
that's
5 shoe.
Yeah,
think that,
right.
Yeah. Hack Wilson. All right. Birthday today, Campaneris. And I know we talk about the Hall of Fame. For me, he's a Hall of Famer. I think he just got caught in the crunch with those great A's teams.
Yes, he definitely did. I mean, see, this guy, he was the Kansas City A's. He was with Kansas City for 4 seasons before they came out here, and he's leading the league in stolen bases all 3 years for that totally nondescript team. They're not drawing, they're going to be moving and everything. But meanwhile, he's this dynamic leadoff hitter. Then they get to Oakland, he hits 22 homers one year. That was an aberration, but he had a lot of power. A little guy, but very strong and feisty, and a hell of a competitor. He was a huge part of that team. I mean, you look at his plate appearances over the years, it's over 600 like every year after year. He was a mainstay, playing most of the time. And if you have a great team, it's almost always partially defined by a great shortstop. And he was definitely that.
Well, another birthday, Benito Santiago, 60 years old. Where did the time go for him?
Oh my goodness. Yeah, well, he was. Everybody remembers his defense, which was sensational and a little unorthodox, but a great arm, a great influence, and had some good years with the Giants. But he hit in 2002 on their way to the World Series. He hit one of the most important homers in the history of the franchise. They're at the Giants Park, whatever it was called then, and it's a 2-2 tie in the 8th inning against the Cardinals, and they walk Bonds intentionally and Santiago hits a bomb that clinches the game. Now the Giants are up 3-1, and that series is pretty much over. Big homer from Santiago.
Yeah, terrific player. Yeah. When he was with the Giants. Boy, one last one, and we'll let you go here on this Sunday. It's great. It's spring training. This is why we're getting back into baseball, Bruce and I. I like it. Dave Stieb, 1985, signed an 11-year contract for, in those days, $25 million, which was unheard of. Dave Stieb was pretty good. He's from the Bay Area.
San Jose guy, yeah. He had a tremendous breaking ball. Those are the years that I covered the A's daily, and you'd see him a lot. And I always wondered, how does anybody get a hit off this guy? Plus, he had a little mean streak. He didn't like anybody doing anything against him, and had a fine career. But yeah, 11 years, that's a little much, especially for a pitcher. I mean, you don't see that too much now. I think that was pre-Tommy John. I think he got through most of his years without serious injury. He was a stud.
Yeah, no, he took no hitters into the 9th inning. I bet 5 times.
Yeah, exactly.
And yeah, he was Toronto Blue Jays. All right, All right. Good baseball for a Sunday morning, and we've got a doubleheader today for the Giants. So we'll see what happens. But Bruce, have a great Sunday. We'll talk to you next week.
Thanks, Marty. Take care.
All right, that is Bruce Jenkins. More coming up. Mark Simon, Sports Info Solutions next, right here in the Sports Leader.
Talking baseball with Marty Lurie on KNBR 104.5 and 680, the Sports Leader.
Everyone likes a party, but everyone loves a party at Original Joe's. With 3 private dining rooms, it's the perfect spot to hold your next big event. From christenings to corporate gatherings, we'll make your next party San Francisco special. Original Joe's, see you at the counter. Hello again, Marty Lurie here to talk about my good friends at Georgie Brothers. the largest family-owned furniture store in the entire Bay Area. Right now and good through March 17th, you can save hundreds of dollars on my favorite line of furniture, Stressless. I own Stressless furniture, and I can tell you it's the most comfortable place to sit in my home. Visit them at GeorgieBrothers.com. That's GIORGIBROS.com. And remember, tell them that Marty sent you. Fans, joining us is Grant Power, President and CEO of Nations. Grant, last year we talked about the amazing breakfast at Nations. I'm going to ask you this. What's your favorite lunch?
You know, I'm pretty split. I guess I'm kind of like a pitcher who has two favorite pitches they like leaning on. I'd say half the time I do the hamburger and half the time I do the wild salmon burger. It really depends on which protein you want. We love our beef supplier in Northern California. We've been with them for decades. We test our beef all the time. We sell ocean-caught wild salmon. Friends don't let friends eat farm salmon. It's absolutely delicious. You know, to mix it up, I guess it's like a pitcher who has a two-seamer and a four-seamer, or maybe a four-seamer and a cutter. I actually go grilled onions on my hamburger half the time and raw onions the other half. Today at lunch, I got the French fries, but half the time I get the onion rings, and I had a wonderful slice of pecan pie. There's something for everybody, whether you like hot dogs or grilled cheese. It's really up to the individual what mood they're in, but my go-to is either the beef with the hamburger or the wild salmon, which is absolutely delicious.
Wow, I love it. Grant Power, President, CEO of Nations. Grant, thanks so much.
Pleasure being on.
Mark Simon. Mark, I love you, man.
Oh, no! Fans, it's great to have everyone back with us. We love that open. We love the open. That means one thing, that Mark Simon is with us. Mark A. Simon says on Twitter. He's also on Blue Sky now, marksimon.bksy.social. But Sports Info Solutions is his home. We have him on every week, and we talk baseball with him. And Mark, it's great to have you back with us.
Hi, thanks. I'm glad to be back. I'm looking forward to another year of this, and I guess another year of that song.
Yes, come on. Seinfeld's at a lot of Mets exhibition games, and he's wearing the Lloyd Braun glasses on one of them, I think.
He's getting old, like me and like all of us.
Good. All right, let's talk a little bit of ball for you. First of all, what's your winter like with Sports Info Solutions? And I know predictions are coming out all over the place from different organizations. What do you do over the winter? What's life like for you?
It's boring. Let's see. I guess the most exciting thing that I did this winter was when Ichiro got elected to the Hall of Fame. I talked to about a dozen of his former teammates. I talked to Bob Melvin about him, and I did an oral history of Ichiro as a great defensive player. There were some good stories, the best of which was someone in Japan talking about how Ichiro had made a mistake during a game where he had a collision with an outfielder, and this was young Ichiro. And before the next game started, they sent him out to the outfield. He turned to the stands and just over and over again, he kept screaming, "My name is Ichiro, and I will make my voice heard," or something like that. Just over and over and over again. And that's the kind of thing that they do in Japan that you wouldn't be able to get away with here. So that was the most exciting thing I've done this winter. Other than that, starting this week, I am releasing I'm trying to answer the question for every major league team, is your team a good defensive team? And we will see where the chips fall on various teams, including the one that you follow.
All right, let's talk a little bit about the Giants and some of the projections from the different places, Bakota, Fangraphs, you name it. The projection at this point is anywhere from 77 to 80 wins. And I always say when you say 80, can't it turn into 85? So, but that's what I'm hearing over the winter.
Yeah, I think that's what happens when you make one significant move, which Willie Adames was that significant move, and you wind up, the winner of the "we tried" kind of effort, which is, I guess, unfortunate for them. I think the issue is that, like, if you took the Giants and the Padres and you put them side by side, you can see a lot of upside for the Padres, whether it's Jackson Merrill or Tatis or Manny Machado, or they have all these really good players. You don't see that kind of upside on the Giants roster as it is currently comprised. You have a lot of guys that you need to say, kind of like, prove it to me about.
Yeah, I call it the if factor.
Yep.
If this happens, if you have too many on the if factor, it's usually trouble. But for the Giants, though, they do have some young players that did establish themselves to some degree in Major League Baseball. And I'll say Tyler Fitzgerald could be one of them. Jung-Hoo Lee, who I've seen a lot of, Mark, in spring training, I like him. He's got a great personality, which doesn't help on the field, but he can go track a ball. It's never quite pretty. There's always a little something that happens at the end. But he swings the bat. So you get Fitzgerald and Lee. That's a little bit of speed, and they're trying to get an identity here. I will tell you that, of maybe a little more of the hit and run, a little bit more going first to third. They're trying to control the at-bat and not strike out as much.
Yeah, so starting with Tyler Fitzgerald, if you look at some of the projection systems for him this year, they're not as optimistic as his 2024 numbers were. They actually bring him down considerably because there was nothing necessarily in his past history that suggested that what happened was something that he could do consistently. And quite frankly, he strikes out a lot and doesn't walk a lot. And I think that scares a lot of people. And he did it as an older player, like an older prospect. He's not 22, 23. He's 25. He's 26, 27 now. So the optimism is just not there with him. Now, that's not to say that he couldn't be their best player this year if he was able to maintain that. But there is a feeling among the Staterati that's not going to be possible. Jung-Hoo Lee didn't get a full shot last year. He didn't hit enough when he was there. He did things that impressed you, but it was like in between that there was a lot of over and there were some missed balls. But in both cases, they should be considerably better than what the Giants had there last season. Like, Jung-Hoo Lee should be better in center field defensively than anyone. Even if he's average, he's great compared to what they had. Tyler Fitzgerald moving to second base, he's just all right. He's better than what Tyro and the other guys were. So I guess that's a good thing. I just don't know that there's enough of a good thing there to feel really good about.
Well, where does Willie Adames fit into this? Because there's an old saying with Brandon Crawford, the pitchers told Bruce Bochy, look, when the bus leaves to the park, I want to make sure Crawford's on the bus. Willie Adames, is he a great shortstop? Is he a good shortstop? What do the numbers say? What should we expect from him? Now, down here, he's got the hands that I see of a shortstop, which I like.
Yep.
But what do you see?
So something weird happened with him last season, if you compare it to his other seasons. If you go back to 22 and 23, he was a solid, very good defensive player. Last year, particularly July and August, he dipped by a lot. It was kind of like a cratering defensively. He made throwing errors that he wasn't making before. He made mistakes that he wasn't making before. And they really piled up on him in the latter part of the season. And it was mystifying because everything about his track record is he's a good defensive player. So if this was just some sort of weird blip that he got through, he could come in and he could be terrific to the Giants. Again, especially compared to what they had there defensively last year with Fitzgerald. Right now, I think he's a good player. I wouldn't necessarily call him a great player, and he's a somewhat mysterious defender because he used to be really good, and then last year he just went in the complete opposite direction. And the Brewer people broadcast crew would come to me repeatedly, and they'd be like, "I don't know what's going on there." So I don't know. I think the Giants are banking on the upside of the earlier part of his career, but I don't think you know it until you see it in the first bunch of games.
Well, the Giants are hitting him second. Wade looks, they're using that opening day lineup a lot.
Yep.
Wade's leading off, and then Adames is second, and Lee is third, then Chapman, and then, they may fill in a little bit after that. But Adames is hitting second. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think they want him to be hitting with men on base. They want a lot of teams putting their best guy number 2 now. And last year he was terrific with men on base. He tied the major league record for 3-run homers with 13. So I think they're saying to him, you're potentially our best guy. You're a guy that we won up, and you're a guy that. But it is a little weird because if, let's say, the leadoff hitter makes it out, the number 1 hitter makes it out, or the 9 and the 1 make it out, his on base isn't great. His on base was better last year, but it typically, he's not a guy that sets up an inning. He's a guy that finishes a rally, and yeah, I think it's either him. I guess it could be Chapman. It could be maybe Lamont Wade in certain circumstances. I don't have any objection to him being the 2-hitter. The other thing that was nice about him last year was he showed some speed. He stole 21 bases, which he'd never stolen double digits before.
Well, they're trying to do that. They're trying to get that identity of running a little bit more, going first to third, and hitting behind the runner and getting that runner in from third with less than 2 out and cutting down the strikeout. So he's a big part of that. So we'll see. Matt Chapman is having a great spring. He's got 4 home runs. He plays great defensively. But my question to you is, look, we're only, this is what, March 9th, the 8th, 9th, wherever we are in spring. I know that play within a couple of weeks, but there are a few weeks to go before the season starts for everybody else. What do you think about playing the regulars and trying to use that regular lineup so much as the Giants appear to be doing?
Yeah, I will defer to the wisdom and expertise of the manager on that. I think part of it, too, is they want those guys to get their at-bats so that on opening day they're maybe even a little ahead of others. Start of spring training, you see sometimes the pitchers dominate, and I think it's good that Matt is 8 for 15 at the moment with 4 home runs this time that we're talking. Yeah, I think they just want those guys to get a lot of reps and get them ready to go. Managing a team, not necessarily my expertise, but that would be my guess with that.
All right. Let's talk a little bit about the Giants pitching because, again, I'll say it, I know it's down here. It is Arizona, and the pitching's never great. But, boy, every time they throw somebody out there, it's 3-4 innings of pretty much shutout ball. Kyle Harrison has had some trouble, and Beck has got knocked around a little bit, those two at the end of the rotation. But today Hicks goes. He's been down here. I said last year he's as good as anything you'll ever see down here because he's throwing 99 already. And then you get Roop, who is going to make this team one way or another. He goes today. So their starting pitching really has been very good, but it is down here and it is spring.
Yeah, show me it in a couple of weeks. I think the thing that would have me a little skeptical is they don't have a lot of strikeout pitchers necessarily, unless Hayden Birdsong stops walking people and finds his way into the rotation. Verlander's not a strikeout pitcher anymore. Robbie Ray can be, but he's going to walk a lot of guys. Logan Webb's not. Hicks isn't. I think you need strikeout pitchers. Got him in the bullpen. Walker, Duvall, Eric Miller, all those guys. But you don't necessarily have them in the rotation. And there are a lot of guys in this rotation where it's like there's a point at which the innings, they're going to hit a wall innings-wise. Like with Verlander, like I think if you get more than 100 innings out of him, you did pretty well. Robbie Ray's got an injury history. Hicks looked great in the early part of the season, and then once he got stretched out a little more, didn't look so great anymore. Kyle Harrison is still building his way up. You got Logan, but that's about it in terms of guys that can really give you innings. You're going to need a lot of guys that can give you innings this year, and they have a guy who can fit the 6, 7, and 8, and 9 spot in their rotation, but I think that they're not necessarily as good as certainly some of the other teams in the NL West that are out there.
No, they got some depth. I will say that on the pitching side, and it's a lot of ifs. It's a lot of ifs. People who were in the big leagues last year, they've got to repeat that and then take a step forward, and that'll be the key to the season for me.
Let me say, too, that the 90-win scenario for them is really stretching it. I mean, it requires Chapman to be, and Adames probably to be MVP caliber, Fitzgerald to be a standout, Patrick Bailey to hit consistently for a whole season as opposed to for a couple of months. Some discoveries, you're going to need an Encarnacion to be halfway decent. You're going to need one or two of those pitchers to be 150 inning guys that are pretty good. You're going to need Robbie Ray to pitch at close to Cy Young caliber. It's a lot of F's. That's a lot of stuff you need to go right.
All right. Well, that's why we play the games.
Yeah.
As we like to say, that's why we go through the long, complicated season. One last thought for you before we let Mark Simon go. Your team, the Mets, a lot of injuries this spring for them. Of course, they've got Soto, which is exciting, and Pete Alonso is back, and I love him. I wish the Giants had gotten him. But how do you feel about your Mets?
I think cautious optimism for the Mets is a reasonable take at this point. They have depth. They have an owner who will spend the Francisco Alvarez injury news that came down today that he's had 6 to 8 weeks. That's pretty significant because when he caught last year, they were fantastic. And when he didn't catch last year, they were 500-ish, I think. And they don't have a good backup this year in particular. They're down 2 starting pitchers already. I think cautious optimism, but the injuries are starting to pile up and be a concern. And how can you not like Juan Soto? When anytime a team signs the best guy out there, how can you not like it? He's a future Hall of Famer. He's terrific. But one guy can't necessarily carry you all the way. They need contributions from more than just him.
All right. Well, we'll see. Great to have you on. It's great to talk ball with you, Mark Simon. Mark A. Simon says on Twitter. He's also on Blue Sky and, of course, Sports Info Solutions. Mark, have a great day, and we'll talk to you again. Appreciate it.
You got it. Yeah.
All right. That is Mark Simon. More coming up right here at KNBR 680 104.5, the sports leader.
Talking baseball with Marty Lurie on KNBR 104.5 and 680, the sports leader.
Just a quick note about the rooftop restaurant at the Via Hotel, the Hotel Via across the street from the park. They do a wide variety of events on the rooftop, from weddings and birthdays to corporate retreats and special events, holiday events, and any other special occasion you can think of. With stunning 360 views of the skyline, Bay Bridge, East Bay, and, of course, Oracle Park, the rooftop at Via is truly one of the most unique event venues in San Francisco.
Time now to go to Sunday school with the professor.
Hey, Professor, take it easy, will you?
Giants coach Ron Wotus with Marty Laurie.
I didn't know you wanted to get involved with the discussion, Mr. Helper.
On your home of Giants baseball.
Good answer. I like the way you think.
KNBR 104.5 and 680, the sports leader.
Brought to you by River Islands, one of the country's top-selling master plan communities just across the Altamont in Lathrop. Where else can you live on a lake next door to a park or walking distance to your kid's new school? With 10 new neighborhoods, River Islands is the one place you can't afford to miss.
Fans, it's great to have the professor with us every Sunday morning, and that is Ron Wotus. Whoa, how are you today?
Great to be with you, Marty. I'm doing well.
All right, baseball. We're in the middle of spring training now, and things are starting to take a little bit of shape. You look at the standings. The Cubs are 10-3, and then in the old Cactus League, the Giants are second at 8-3. Does it mean something to you right now?
Well, I think what it means is it's a good sign for the whole organization. Not that we're going out to try to win games, but if your players are performing, you're going to win games. And, we're certainly performing well. The pitching's been good. I've been impressed with the hitting so far. We're doing some things that we really haven't done in the past, in my opinion, at the plate. Defense has been outstanding. We're not beating ourselves. When we make an error, it really stands out. Bo Mel said that after the game yesterday. We made one error in the game yesterday, and he's like, wow, when we make an error, it really stands out. And you're playing good baseball. And another reason it's good for the whole organization is you have a lot of your AAA and AA guys in these major league games. They have a split squad today, and you'll see a lot of these guys play. So if your young players are playing well, the killer bees, when the killer bees get in there, if they hold their own and win games for you, that's a good sign as well. Because it's just not the major league club, but it's good for the whole organization.
Yeah, today it's Giants at the Cubs at Sloan Field. Landon Roop goes today against Talion. And San Diego comes to us here in Scottsdale, Nick Pivetta and Hicks. Well, I'll tell you something, and I said this last night to a number of people. You can't win without pitching. There's no guarantee you will win with pitching, but if you don't have pitching, you're not going to win. And the one thing about this spring training so far, and I just said these two names, the guys throwing today, every time they throw somebody out there, it looks like a bunch of zeros.
You're right. We've been pitching extremely well. J.P. Martinez has done a nice job, and all his support staff that've been here. They're really focusing on throwing strikes. We're not walking a lot of people. And that always bodes well because, you don't know how an inning is going to start, an error or a walk with 2 outs, and boom, here we go. So, yeah, the pitching has been very, very strong. And the thing that stands out to me is, we have a lot of guys knocking on the door, and there should be a good pitching staff down in AAA, the guys that don't make the club. We should have a good surplus of very usable pitchers that can come up and help the club as the season goes along. Because as you know, it's a long season, Marty, and we're going to need everybody.
Yeah, it's a very long season. Well, they could say it's a complicated season. You know that. You know what that means.
Complicated? Well, it's like a Megillah. It's a Megillah, isn't it?
Very good. With Purim coming up, Woe drops the Megillah on us. Very good. A long, complicated story. All right. Joey Amalfitano, he was there last night. He may be the longest, oldest living former New York Giant. And it was a lot of fun to talk to him at this dinner last night. Well, Joey Amalfitano, he's meant a lot to your career. But he told stories about Leo DeRocher last night. And, people are listening to him. And I said to myself, I saw him play. I saw him play when he came up. But he's a fabulous part of the organization. I know you love him.
I love him to death. He's a treasure, for the whole game of baseball. And we've been fortunate to be around him here in San Francisco. You know, when I first got to the big leagues, he did a couple things for me. The first thing he did was he, put me in touch with Herman Franks, who gave me some advice about coaching third. And he said, take charge of the position. I'm over here in the minor league side, and Kyle Haynes was just telling the minor league managers, if a guy doesn't look down, take charge, get his attention. And that's so, so important. The other thing he did, he set me up. Well, Ron Peronowski set me up with this one in Dodger Stadium my first year. And of course, he's good friends with Joey. They worked together all those years. And he had me meet Joey behind home plate early in the day. And we sat there and we talked about coaching third. And he's helped so many third base coaches, Ron Renicky, Tim Flannery. The list goes on and on. So absolutely love him. He's going to come over here. I'm at the minor league side today. He's going to come over here at 1 o'clock. And you can't have him around enough because the wisdom and the simple wisdom that he shares, not just with the coaches but with the players, is really invaluable.
Well, 1954, Joey Amalfitano and Paul Giel were bonus babies for the New York Giants. And in those days, you had to stay on the roster for 2 years. And
Wow.
that's what it was in 1954. And I still remember him, and he's fabulous. You mentioned Herman Franks, too. Herman Franks is a longtime Giant coach. He was a manager of the Giants, too. He was there when they traded Orlando to the Cardinals. But Herman Franks made a ton of money for a lot of players with real estate in Salt Lake City. And he
Really?
also played for the Brooklyn Dodgers. How about that? And that showed how baseball, look, Leo DeRocher managed the Dodgers, then he went to the Giants. I know there's things today, you see Dodgers and Giants sort of swap players sometimes, but boy, it's rare when you see a guy who comes from the Dodgers to the Giants.
Absolutely. I don't know the last time we've made a deal with the Dodgers, even though
Nate
they've
Oliver,
been better.
maybe. How about Pee Wee? Nate Oliver, he played for both.
That's right. Well, a lot of guys end up playing for both, but there's not many trades, as you just well said. And I can't remember the last time, since I've been here, if we made any sort of trade with the Dodgers. But anyways, you mentioned Herman Franks, another man that touched a lot of people in this organization and did a good job for the Giants. So, yeah, it's nice that we can talk about these guys, and it's great to still have Joey around.
Oh, it's fabulous because it's what baseball is all about. Let's talk Willie Adames a little bit. Well, what I've enjoyed learning from you over the years is the shortstop is the quarterback of the team. And I remember you explaining it to me about Correa. The guy goes out in the outfield, takes the cutoffs, and he directs everything. Is Adames that kind of player? Do you see that in him?
I see that in him and, everything he does. He's even starting before the game in practice. I mean, he leads by example. He's vocal. He's a great communicator. Him and Chappie over there at third have really hit it off. I know you've seen some of these games. There's a ball hit between, the shortstop and third baseman. And Chapman's, Adames, I think, is getting a little frustrated. He's playing off the line a little bit more. He goes and gets the ball, and Adames threw his glove down the other day and, joking that I'm not going to be able to catch a backhand because Chapman's there the whole time. So that was a light, fun moment. But, yeah, he's a leader. I think we talked about him. He's going to make everybody better. And you need that in the middle of the diamond because they're the main artery that communicates with the pitcher and communicates with the outfielders as well. And you have to have that communication in the middle of the diamond because there's a lot going on.
Well, Chapman plays deep, and you told us that last year, and it's obviously does play deep. Does he play off the line, too? Now, there have been third basemen. Eric Chavez, I remember, for the A's. He hugged that line. You couldn't get anything past him down the line. How does Chapman play third? How does he do it?
Well, he does play extremely deep. He has the arm to do it, and he closes on a ball extremely well, as we all know. But I think this year we're trying to get him a little more off the line, maybe a step or two. I mean, he's one of the tops in the game and not allowing the double. And a lot of pitchers want him. They don't want to give up the double. They'd rather give up a ball to his left and give up the single. But when you think about balancing the field, the closer he gets to the line, the more room there is, up the middle. The shortstop has a lot more ground to cover. So, the key is you can play off the line a little bit more within reason, and it pushes the shortstop up the middle, And the percentages of balls are going to be more in the middle of the field, and you get more. Now, if you have a sinker baller sinking the ball in, or a lefty throwing slow breaking balls, or Bumgarner cutting it in, right, you have to be on the line. So you adjust, but in general, the straightaway position can be a little more off the line. That's the way I like to play it. Same thing at first base. That's the way a lot of teams like to play, and some teams don't. But, you talk about playing off the line. You probably remember David Bell played third base for us back, 2002, and in that time frame. He played off the line further than any human I ever saw. I mean, there's a right-hander up. He looks like he's playing shortstop, and I was real nervous. I go, they're going to kill him down the line. But he got it done, and it was really something to see.
Wow. Well, I look at this team, and I watch the games, and the games are very crisp. But part of what I like, and I don't know how you feel about it, this automatic ball strike system where you get 3 challenges, 2 challenges, what have you. I like it. I tell you, I like it. I like the way they do it. It's quick. You see it on the scoreboard, just like the tennis thing. If the ball is touching the strike zone, it's a strike. And I know it's experimental here, but I tell you, I like it.
I think a lot of people like it. I mean, when you first see it, you kind of love it, too. The fans get to see the exact location of the pitch. And
right.
If you're in the upper deck or you're out in the bleachers, you can look up at the scoreboard when they challenge a pitch, and they'll show it on the board, right? Did it nick the strike zone? Was it down? So it adds another visual, and it holds the umpires accountable. So I think that's what they're trying to accomplish. The days of Eric Gregg calling that pitch 5 feet outside, with the Braves, throwing the Maddox, throwing the Lopez, those days are gone because, the challenge system, the player will be able to challenge it. And I think that's what they're trying to do is hold people accountable.
All right. I like it. I think it works quickly. It's comfortable, and I like it. A couple of things as we wrap it up with the professor here, Ron Wotus. Well, someone mentioned the name last night of spring phenoms, J.R. Phillips. How about J.R. Phillips?
That's a good one. Spring phenom, slick fielding first baseman, a lot of power. Just never really developed into the major leaguer that we had hoped to, but he had his career, and he was known for his first base play. Yeah.
All right. That was a good one I heard last night. River Islands, got a nice note from Colleen. Well, they're adding almost a neighborhood a week, and that community is growing. I mean, really, it's unbelievable.
It really is. I mean, it's affordable, right? It's close to the Bay Area. A lot of people, Livermore is beautiful now. People love Livermore, and it's right next to it as well. So the communities keep growing out that way. But it's just amazing that they continue to, build and sell at the rate that they're selling because, the market has slowed down a little bit. But they continue to do it. There's a lot of reasons for it. We've always talked about, the walking trails and the schools, and now the high school's coming. So, it's a beautiful place. And I always enjoy my time when I go up there.
Oh, it's terrific. All right, I'll leave you with one historical note today.
Okay.
1979, the great Hack Wilson was inducted into the Hall of Fame. He hit 56 home runs in 1930, drove in 191. But he liked to drink a little bit, and that was sort of what he was known for, the hangover. So he's playing in the old Baker Bowl, which was Philadelphia, and they had a tin right field wall. And the pitcher was Boom Boom Beck. And Boom Boom Beck had an appropriate nickname, and he's getting walloped all over the place. They came to take him out of the game, and he turned around and threw the ball as hard as he could, and it landed off the tin wall in right field. Well, Hack, who had been nursing the hangover, thought the ball was in play and threw a strike to second base. The great Hack Wilson.
Oh, Marty, only you. Great story as always. Love the name Boom Boom. Right? The only Boom Boom I knew was Boom Boom Mancini. So enjoyed that one. I'm going to share that with a couple of the guys today. I hope we don't see it here in a minor league game. I hope we don't see that today.
The great Hack Wilson. All right. Well, have a great afternoon. We'll talk to you next week.
All right, Marty. Have a great day.
All right. That is the professor, Ron Wotus. More coming up right here, KNBR 680 1045, the sports leader.
seam heads, start cracking those peanuts and spitting those seeds, because gloves are soon to be popping.
He makes a headlong dive and makes the catch.
And bats are going to get cracking.
Blast one! Deep right field! Gone!
Welcome to KNBR's Giants Warm-Up.
Way back there! Goodbye!
On the sports leader.
How's it going, everybody? Happy Sunday to you. Giants warm-up here on the leader. Giants baseball coming up in just about an hour. 104.5 and 680, but you knew that already. That'll be Giants and Padres. Giants have two games today, split squads. Not exactly equal squads if the lineups are to be believed. Didn't check for the last couple. We'll get Raph on that right now. But Giants are going to play the Padres. That is the, quote, A game. That is where the Giants' presumed opening day lineup, to some degree, will be doing their work against the division rival San Diego Padres. And then the Giants will also be in Mesa, Arizona at Sloan Park, home of the Cubs, for what will certainly be a jam-packed spring training game. I don't know if anyone was able to watch yesterday's spring training game. Hey, maybe you were there at the spring training game yesterday in Scottsdale. Not a seat to be found. Actually, not even blades of grass to be found at Scottsdale Stadium. Same can be said for what's going on with the Chicago Cubs. I think they set some sort of spring training record yesterday for just a Saturday game. Spring training, huge business these days. And I'm not going to lie, I'm a little bit peeved that I'm not getting to go down to Arizona this year. One of my favorite traditions. And if you haven't done it already, highly suggest you get in on it now, because it's only getting crazier and crazier down in the Valley of the Sun. Giants did win yesterday. They played the Kansas City Royals at Scottsdale Stadium. Giants now 8-3 on the spring schedule. They win 7-3. And let's just go over what happened yesterday, because it was a very informative game, at least from my vantage point. And let's start it off with the fact that the game didn't start on time. A little bit of a delay in getting the game going, a little bit of a quirk to start us off. Here's what held up yesterday's spring training game with the Giants and the Royals.
We are underway here in Scottsdale. 62 degrees, the official game time temperature. Should warm up a bit, though, as the game progresses, and we've already got a delay. The door, the gate out in straightaway center is open. And somebody motioned out to Jung-Hoo Lee. Can you take care of it?
He's disappeared.
He's now on the other side of the outfield wall.
He's in the cornfield. Jung-Hoo, come back. Somebody was born in a barn, and they left the door open.
I think the grounds crew puts a lot of the equipment out there.
Oh.
Jung-Hoo tried to close it, and now he's motioning and saying, I need a little help.
Elliot Ramos over from left field now. This is like, remember the mound? When they were fixing the mound in Atlanta, we did the play-by-play? Now a Giants official jogging out to center field. Jung-Hoo still disappeared beyond the gate. He's back. Elliot Ramos is... How many Giants does it take to close a door, Joe?
That's where we're at right now.
I'm going to say 3.
Three got it done.
All right.
A bit of a team-building exercise for the Giants before they got underway yesterday. And Jung-Hoo Lee, what can't he do? Closing the gate in center field. And it's a good thing that they were able to get it closed, because the Giants had one hell of a game for everybody on Saturday. And it started with Keaton Winn making his first spring start. I'm a big Keaton Winn fan, the heavy sinker. That's something that really plays at Oracle Park. But it seems to be playing in Scottsdale, Arizona, too. He went 2 scoreless innings in his first spring training start against a not too shabby Kansas City Royals lineup, a team that has a lot of high expectations for this year. Here was the final strikeout of Keaton Winn's 2 scoreless innings. How many strikeouts did he have? 4 strikeouts on the day.
Making the drive from Surprise. Here is a swing and a miss. Back to the split. And Keaton Winn strikes out Melendez on 3 pitches to complete a 1-2-3 inning.
Keaton Winn, when that splitter is working, when that sinker is working, whatever the hell you want to call it, it is a beanbag getting thrown up there, and very difficult to square it up. And if you can't hit it, well, it doesn't matter if you square. I mean, that is dangerous, dangerous, dangerous stuff for opposing hitters. and adds a little bit of spice to what is already a very interesting battle for the final rotation spot for the San Francisco Giants. Of course, you know, the Giants and any team in baseball are going to need as many starters as they can possibly have. This is a war of attrition, after all, over 162 games. But Keaton Winn coming back from a pretty tough injury situation last year. He's getting nerves moved around and things in his arm, coming back and looking really good in his first start. That might be my biggest takeaway from yesterday's game. And of course, I'm sure that many people will be noting the other things that happened in the game because they were pretty loud as well. Starting with Mike Yastrzemski's 2-run home run. He had a bit of umbrage with the umpire. He had 2 missed calls go against him. Giants didn't challenge it, all that. They could have too early. You let it go. It's spring training. We don't need to stress out about it. Mike Yastrzemski, 3-2 count, and it led to this.
Well, that was back on Tuesday. Here's a swing and a high drive. Deep right field. This one heading way back. It's gone! Over the Giants bullpen. Mike Yastrzemski launches one, a tape measure blast.
An absolute gopher ball for Michael Wacha, the Royals starting pitcher, who's coming off a pretty good year himself. Did not have his best stuff yesterday, and if that is his best stuff, a best of luck to him, because in Kansas City, that ball would have gone over the fountains. It was absolutely cranked, and obviously the wind going out to right field, as it so often does at Scottsdale Stadium, helping out. Matt Chapman scored on the play. That would not be the last run that Matt Chapman scored. He had 2 unbelievable defensive plays, and then in the bottom of the third, he followed up that with this.
And the 2-2 pitch. Chapman swings. It's a high fly ball. Deep right field. It's carrying. Velasquez back. He's looking up. It's gone! Matt Chapman goes the other way. An opposite field 3-run home run. Chapman's got 4 homers now and only 15 at-bats here in the Cactus League. And that one opens up a 5-0 Giants lead.
Needless to say, that guy is pretty good. Matt Chapman having a spring to remember. And the only question is can he carry this into the regular season? All indications say yes. And if that's the case, the Giants season might go a lot differently than a lot of people, including myself just a couple of weeks ago, expected. Of course, you need more pitching than just starter pitching in spring training in particular. And Eric Miller, a lot of questions about Eric Miller. Is he going to be the only lefty in the bullpen? Can he hold that role? We are long past the days of the loogie, the guy who was brought in to take out one left-handed hitter in the lineup and then never be seen again. So you can get away with a single lefty in the bullpen. Some teams don't even bother. They play the reverse splits and they just have all righties. But Eric Miller certainly going to be on this team, barring injury, as a left-handed reliever. Question is, will he be the only one? I can say this, if he's the only one, Giants are in pretty good hands. Eric Miller, an outstanding inning in this game and knocking some dudes out, as he so often does.
A look towards second as he comes set. And the 2-2 is swung on and missed. 96 with a fastball. Strikes out Waters. 3 strikeouts in the inning as Eric Miller gets through it.
Eric Miller yet to allow an earned run this spring. It's a guy who has immense talent. You could see it last year when he broke through, and now taking on a vital role for the San Francisco Giants, particularly in the division they play, and you got to have a good lefty. And if you don't, you don't want to be playing those reverse splits and hoping that it all holds up over the course of the season. You need someone who's coming in with some real whip from the left side. And Eric Miller's doing that. We'll get into a little bit of the bullpen battle because there is plenty to be discussed there. Giants, again, in very good stead. Not a lot of worries on the Giants front right now, albeit we're about halfway through spring training. But all the questions that we're asking about the Giants, we're asking them in a positive light. We're asking questions like, oh, should this guy make the team? He's been really good. Or should this guy make the team? He's been really good. Not a lot of questions about what are they going to do? Not a lot of existential issues with the Giants right now. Merely a preponderance of good news. And they got to keep it going. There's no question about it. But a very good place to be, particularly coming off an offseason that was hit and miss, I would say, from the vantage point of the fans. This is something that was a positive, at least in my eyes. David Villar had not been having a very good spring, and this is a guy who is out of options. So it was going to be put up or shut up time for David Villar. Everyone's like David Villar. He's never really broken through as a full-time major leaguer. He's gotten some opportunities, hot and cold, gives you something, loses you something. And at this point, you're wondering if he's just sort of a quadruple A player. Then to have a slow start this spring, you just kind of feel for the guy, right? You have some sympathy for a guy in his situation. He's playing to continue on his dream at the highest level. He's playing to make himself a great deal of money at the highest level. And David Villar, with a poor start to spring, it was wearing on me a little bit. I felt bad for the guy because I do think that he has the talent, and we've seen it in flashes, to be an everyday major leaguer, or at least help out with some of these platoons that the Giants are going to use this year. And maybe yesterday was the day that it kind of gets back on track. After a Jung-Hoo Lee RBI single, David Villar comes to the plate and took advantage of that little right field jet stream that they had going on at Scottsdale Stadium with this.
Gavin Cross is out and left as Villar hits a fly ball deep right center field. On the run, Waters. He's at the track looking up. It's gone. The third home run of the day for the Giants as David Villar joins in on the fun. Some opposite field power. A home run off of Ross Stripling, his former teammate, and it's 7-0 Giants.
Giants end up winning the game 7-3 as Garza comes in, pitches an inning, gives up 3 runs. Hey, it was the end of a spring training game. They're going to try out some arms. No harm, no foul. Keaton Winn getting the win. Nominative determinism there for his 2-inning go. Ryan Walker coming in afterwards and getting bailed out a little bit by a great Matt Chapman defensive play. Eric Miller following that. 1 hit allowed, 3 strikeouts. Peguero, Ragsdale, Diaz, and Garza finish it off for the Giants, who will play split squad today. We'll have Giants and Padres for you here on The Sports Leader. That is the A game of the day. Giants will also be playing the Chicago Cubs in Mesa, Arizona today. Something we can keep an eye on the periphery. We're going to play a little game coming up next. Fair or Foul, Giants Spring Training Roster Crunch Edition. Raf's going to help me out with it. Hope you stick with us. Giants and Padres coming up in just about 40, 50 minutes. Let's call it that. You never really know these days, what with those center field fences and such. But Giants and Padres coming up for you in just a little bit. This is Giants warm-up here on The Sports Leader.
KNBR, The Sports Leader. It's almost time for hot dogs, peanuts, cold beers, and orange and black baseball. Our Giants warm-up rolls on the Sports Leader.
Happy to be back with you on Giants warm-up. Dieter Kurtenbach, Rafael Corral hanging out until Giants and Padres here on the Leader. Little something we like to do when we're talking Giants baseball, be it on Sports Phone, KNBR, or any of the other shows that I'll jump in on. Play a little fair or foul, and it's a pretty simple game. My man Raph is going to lay it my way, and I'm going to say if it's a fair or a foul take. So, Raph, welcome in. Thanks for joining us here today.
Hey, what's up, Dieter?
What's our first question of the day?
We'll start off with Landon Roop will break camp in the starting rotation. Fair or foul?
We're going to find out today. It is a total cop-out answer, Raph. We're going to find out today. My thought is fair. As it stands right now, before he takes the mound at Sloan Park against the Chicago Cubs, I'm going to say fair. Because Kyle Harrison has not had a good spring. Kyle Harrison has not had a good last 9 months, if we're being honest. Kyle Harrison hasn't been able to regain the velocity that we saw when he started his major league career with that incredible game against the Reds. It just hasn't looked the same since, and there have been moments of positivity and promise, and I still believe in Kyle Harrison, but he's just not the same pitcher. I don't know what's going on there, whether it be arm fatigue or maybe something going on in there, but like he's not even coming close to 96, and I can appreciate that the Giants don't need him to be at 96, 97 right now. I can appreciate that this is a long spring, but there's a lot of competition for that fifth starter spot, and it's not as if Harrison had it on lock going into spring. I think Bob Melvin made it pretty clear that Kyle Harrison was fighting for the job, and Landon Roop is obviously the top option at this point to take that job. Hayden Birdsong, maybe a bit of a walk issue. I like Hayden Birdsong's stuff, but they don't need to rush Hayden Birdsong up. Tristan Beck, I'm not sure that's it either. Trevor McDonald, clearly not in the running. Carson Seymour getting an option. Carson Ragsdale getting an option. Well, not option. They get sent down to minor league camp. I should be very specific about that. Those things matter. Mason Black, not in it. So Wisenhunt, Lucchesi has been brought in strictly as a reliever. I'm just going through it. And yes, they have good options should push come to shove. They're not in a position where they're going to be looking for a 7th, 8th, or 9th starter when they probably get to that point, like every other team in baseball, when they're down a guy or they're skipping a start and they need to find somebody. They're going to have guys that they can bring up, and not just bring up, but feel good about. But in terms of handing the ball to a guy every 5th day, you have to go with Roop right now. The cutter has been magnificent, and today is going to tell us a lot because it's a split squad game. That doesn't mean he's getting the top competition, but if he can keep going what he's already done this spring, it's going to be impossible to say no. He's making this team one way or another. He's either coming in out of the bullpen as a long reliever or not. The one guy that I think and maybe this is recency bias, but the one guy that I can think can really give him a push right now, Keaton Winn, because Keaton Winn has held that spot before. Keaton Winn looked great yesterday. Keaton Winn has the kind of stuff that really will play not just at Oracle Park, but also against the teams in the division. I think Keaton Winn has a real shot at it too, and perhaps the Giants go for optionality, but I got to think that Bob Melvin, Buster Posey, the entire brain trust of the Giants will reward a player who has been lights out, should he continue to be lights out, heading into opening day. So fair or foul, the answer pretty clearly, in so many words, my friend, fair. What do you got for me next?
All right, Dieter, coming up next, the Giants will make a trade to improve the team before the end of camp. Fair or foul?
I'm going to say foul, but I don't love saying that. I don't think that there's, I mean, listen, there's always room to improve. There's always an upgrade that can be made. This is business. We can be cold-hearted about it. I don't want to go in on anybody and say, oh, you got to, there's two platoons on this team, right? Right field and first base. And while Lamont Wade Jr. might as well change his middle name to Walks, and Wilmer Flores certainly deserves a shot to start the season. And while Mike Yastrzemski is doing well and Luis Matos can give you that right-left pop, I don't mind those platoons, but getting someone who could be a more everyday player at either of those spots would be a positive. There was a name that in conversations I had been having about a week and a half ago, I would say, about 10 days ago, so last month, Spencer Torkelson, Northern California kid, on the outs with the Tigers for good reason. He had a terrible season last year. But there was some buzz around camp in Lakeland, Florida, which do not recommend. No, sir. If you enjoy the swamp, I suppose that's the spot for you. But the Tigers spring training facility in Lakeland, Florida, woof. That is humidity on humidity on humidity. And, here's some sun for you as well, and no breeze. I digress. There had been some buzz coming out of Florida and the Grapefruit League that Torkelson looked pretty good. And this is a guy who hit 30-plus home runs a couple of years ago. The Tigers had effectively moved on from him. They're going to play Colt Keith at first. They have a couple other guys that they want to get into the lineup. Parker David Malloy, I think is his name, is another player they want to get in there. And they're going to mix and match with DH and right field and all this jazz. It felt like Torkelson was on the way out. He's a guy who got sent down last year. That would have been an interesting pickup for the Giants. And I think it would have been a very prudent pickup about 10 days ago. But in the last 10 days, all that buzz has turned into reality, and Torkelson is apparently on just an absolute heater, and that he's really pushing to get his old first base job back. So that would have been the move that I would have made. I don't think there's a clear-cut option at right field to upgrade over Yaz, who's looked good. He had a home run yesterday, and Matos. So I don't think they're going to make a move to improve the team. They have enough pitching in-house. And I think that they're going to ride with these platoons in right field and at first base. And I just don't see any sort of an upgrade that will be available to them in the coming days and weeks. That'd be with the trade and free agency. I really don't see it either. So unless something pretty drastic happens, I think the Giants are going to stand pat. And frankly, I don't mind that. I don't mind that given the way that they look as of right now. So I'm going to say foul. Raph, what do you have for me next?
All right, Dieter. Lastly, reliever Joel Piguero will make the team. Fair or foul?
Well, a lot of buzz around Joel Piguero. 27 years old, 5'11" righty, 160 pounds, but he's throwing heat, and he has been effectively perfect. 5 strikeouts, no runs allowed, 4 games, 0.6 whip. He's been awesome in 3 1/3 innings. And as a righty, that's something that the Giants are going to have to consider. He's going to have to keep it up too, right? He's got to make it undeniable that he should make the team. There is some real intrigue here with the bullpen, Raph. And that's kind of shocking considering how cemented so many pitchers are in that bullpen. So you're getting Ryan Walker. You're getting Tyler Rogers. You're getting Camilo Doval. You're getting Eric Miller. I think Randy Rodriguez is a lock as well. I would say Sean Jelly is a lock as well. After the season that he had late last year, absolutely. And then you're going to get a long reliever. So that is probably either Roop or Keaton Wynn comes up as the long reliever / sixth starter, which you will be using early in the season without a doubt. And it leaves one extra spot. And we talked earlier in the show about Miller, if he's going to be the only lefty. Some options for lefties, Antonio Jimenez, Enny Romero. Joey Lucchesi is an interesting one. He's a Bay Area kid, former pretty good starter. They're bringing him in as a reliever. He's buying into the idea that this is where he is in his career right now. I haven't seen enough from him yet to say, hey, pencil him in. I got him slated for Sacramento right now, but that could change. The name to keep an eye on is Helcris Olivares. He has been magnificent so far in spring training. Let me pull up the stats here real fast. Hellis Olivares, not easy to find Hellis Olivares stats. I don't think he's given up a run. I think he's throwing about 100 miles per hour. Let's leave it at that. And he's 24 years old. He's bounced around a little bit, right? Rockies, and last year he's in double. I don't know if they're going to bring him all the way up, but the way that he's pitching, I think there's a real shot there. That's the other lefty. And that would maybe be more of a statement on Miller, which is a statement you don't need to make right now, than it maybe would be on anybody else. Another name to keep in mind, and the name that's probably going to get the job done as of right now, is Lou Trevino. Lou Trevino, who Bob Melvin had as a setup man with the Oakland Athletics. Yes, the Oakland Athletics. Heaven forbid we actually state the city that the Athletics play in. That's something they refuse to do anymore. He was an outstanding reliever for the A's back when they were, making the playoffs and stuff. And he's been out for the last 2 years. It's been a tough scene for him. He's been very appreciative of the Giants giving him a shot here to come back and pitch, just get a shot at this thing. And he's been really good. He's been really good for the Giants. Hasn't given up a run yet. A lot of Giants you can say that about. What's going on at Scottsdale Stadium doesn't seem to be an issue with the other team. They're giving up runs left and right, but the Giants pitching, not giving up any runs. We got 12 Ks per 9 innings for Lou Trevino. So 33 years old. He's a guy who Bob Melvin is going to trust implicitly because he called on him in so many big moments throughout their careers together. And they had some pretty damn good years from 2018 to 2022. A bit of a concern, without question, that he hasn't pitched in the last couple of years. Coming off of, I think it was like a double Tommy John situation. It was a pretty rough scene, and his career looked to be over, but he's looked great. And I think that you have to pencil him in right now as the last guy in the bullpen, but very, very good options. Feel a little bit bad for Joel Peguero, the guy that we started this conversation with, Raph, because one, we're kind of glossing over him. There's been so many good relievers. He isn't standing out comparatively, but also because he's doing very well. And I'm not sure that he's made much headway into making the 26, 25-man roster at the start of the season. So I'm going to say foul on Joel Peguero making this team out of camp. I got too much faith in Trevino or Randy Rodriguez, Eric Miller, and I think there's a couple of guys who slide in above him. Sean Jelly's a big aspect of this too. They really like him in that mid reliever role. They don't want him as the long guy anymore. They want to use the long reliever role as a true starter, somebody who they can stretch out 4 or 5 innings. And with Jelly, he's going to come in as a bit of a change of pace because he doesn't have that big heat, but he's so big and he's such a different angle. Maybe this is, with him and Rogers, like maybe this is the 1-2 punch of it all that you have to kind of have with the bullpen. Something to keep an eye on as well. I mean, Walker's the closer through and through. How does Duvall handle the new role? How does Duvall handle not being the man? Because you can make the argument that he was nonplussed by the idea of being the closer of the team, right? That he doesn't ramp up for anything. So what's it matter if he's coming in the 6th, 7th inning, or if he's coming in the 9th? I'm interested to see how that manifests now that job has been firmly taken away from him and it's Ryan Walker's. And I'm fascinated to see how Walker handles it when he was outstanding last season. I have no qualms whatsoever about the stuff, the temperament, any of that. He should be a great closer. But closers, I mean, you want to talk about fickle. Camilo Duvall was supposed to be a great closer last year, and now Ryan Walker is the guy. Ryan Walker doesn't have the same stuff that Camilo Duvall has. He's coming at you with a bit more funk. He's coming at you with slider after slider after slider, whereas Camilo Duvall can hit you on those triple digits. He's the more classic closer, but you got to get the job done. You have to execute when you're put into those big spots, for especially for a team like the San Francisco Giants, where the difference of you're going to blow some saves. So let's say, blowing 5 or 6 saves in a season as opposed to 2 or 3, that could very well be the difference. And it probably would be the difference between the Giants making the postseason or not. So all to say, my friend Raph, Joel Peguero, I'm going to say foul, but keep it going. And these things have a funny way of working themselves out. That's fair or foul. Thank you to Raph for helping us out with that. We're going to give you a bit of a preview of today's games. Yes, today's games coming up on the other side of the break. We're calling this Giants warm-up on KNBR 104.5 and 680, the sports leader.
Now back to the show built for the orange and black family. This is Giants Warm-Up on KNBR, the sports leader.
We're back on the Sports Leader. It's time to give you a bit of a preview into today's games. Yes, games. We'll be going to listen to the Padres and the Giants at Scottsdale Stadium. But, of course, the Giants are also playing the Chicago Cubs today at Sloan Park in, I believe, Mesa. Who's to say? It's not at Scottsdale Stadium. 2 baseball games, same field. That would look very good. Be like that weird Finnish game that they have going on where people are jumping into rivers and such. Look it up on YouTube if you get a couple of minutes later on today. Let's start with today's Stay Hot. And Stay Hot, Matt Chapman. My goodness, what a game he had yesterday. What a spring he has had so far for the Giants.
3-1 delivery, a swing and a bouncer, softly hit left side to his left. Chapman cutting over with a bare hand, picks it up, and a throw to first gets Velasquez. There's your Gold Glover over at third. Didn't even need the glove that time. And the 2-2 pitch. Chapman swings, hits a high fly ball, deep right field. It's carrying. Velasquez back. He's looking up. It's gone! Matt Chapman goes the other way. An opposite field 3-run home run. Chapman's got 4 homers now and only 15 at-bats here in the Cactus League. Here's the 0-1, a swing and a bouncer left side, far to his left. Chapman, glove, spins, throws, got him.
Let me throw some of these numbers your way because they are patently absurd. Let's start with the fact that Matt Chapman signed a 6-year, $151 million contract with the Giants at the end of last season, extending the deal that he already had with San Francisco. We're liking the early returns. Matt Chapman has played 6 spring training games. Small sample size, sure. 15 at-bats total. 7 runs, 8 hits, 20 total bases, 4 home runs, 8 RBIs. The slash line is preposterous. .533 batting average, .650 on base percentage, and a slugging percentage of 1,333. He has an OPS so far this spring of nearly 2,000, and oh yeah, he just so happens to be the best defensive third baseman many of us have ever been able to see with our own 2 eyes. Apologies to all the old-timers out there, certainly Brooks Robinson and some of the other all-time greats. Hey, maybe even a Nolan Arenado, even though that name is verboten around these parts, for what he did to the Giants year after year when he was with the Colorado Rockies. We've seen some great third basemen. Matt Chapman deserves to be in that conversation. I've said it before. I'll say it again. When Matt Chapman is hot, and he has been a streaky player throughout his career, but when Matt Chapman is hot, he is an MVP caliber player. The Giants have spent a lot of time and effort, perhaps not money, because they haven't gotten the guys, in trying to get MVP caliber players. They have one in Matt Chapman. The question is, can we get consistent, hot Matt Chapman? Can what Matt Chapman's doing right now, certainly it can't sustain at this level. That would be the greatest single season of all time, even with the transfer from spring training to the regular season. But if you can get a consistently hot Matt Chapman, if he can do it for 112 games as opposed to 60 every season, what does that look like in the end? I think it looks like very serious MVP consideration, and it looks like a lot better of a Giants season than maybe some of us were expecting, and I'll stand first in line. The Giants right now, making some folks believers. It is just spring training, but you cannot deny the quality of baseball being played, the quality of pitching, the quality of defense to a degree, certainly with Matt Chapman, and the quality of hitting. There are plenty of reasons to buy into the San Francisco Giants as a viable wild card team this upcoming season. Plenty of time to ruin those good vibrations as well, but with the way Matt Chapman is hitting, you have an MVP caliber player in the middle of your lineup. You've had Willy Adames. You have some quality players around him without doubt. It's all somewhat coming together for the San Francisco Giants, and the only question you can ask at this point is, when do you shut him down? When do you make sure that he stays this high? Just walk away after your last made shot, Matt. Don't keep shooting. Don't keep rolling the dice, seeing if you can double up your money yet again At some point, the Giants do have to slow this down so that Matt Chapman doesn't use up all of his quality hits in spring training. We're not there yet. It is only March 9th, but something to consider in the next week or so. How do the Giants fade out Matt Chapman without having his game cool down at all? He's today's stay hot player, Matt Chapman. Couldn't be any hotter, and it is an absolute joy to watch and, of course, to listen to. And how about today's pick to click? Let's go with the sweet swinging Korean center fielder Jung-Hoo Lee. The X factor, perhaps, for the entire Giants lineup this season. They're batting him third. They're batting him leadoff. But Jung-Hoo Lee, great contact rate, showing off a little bit of power on Friday. I'm liking what I'm seeing from Jung-Hoo Lee. And today, he'll be my pick to click. Let's go for a big game for Jung-Hoo Lee. And if Jung-Hoo Lee's having a good game, you got to think that the Giants, even half of the Giants, are going to have a good game as well. Jung-Hoo Lee, today's pick to click. And now it's time for our starter showdown. Giants and Padres, 105 first pitch, Scottsdale Stadium today. Jordan Hicks and Nick Pivetta. For Hicks, an inning and a third so far this spring. 3 strikeouts, a walk, a hit, and a hit by pitch against, but no runs allowed. Something to remember with Jordan Hicks as we look to see what he can do today, expecting a little bit of a longer outing for the Giants starter. First 95 innings last year, 3.79 ERA, 136 whip. He was magnificent in his first full season as a starter for the San Francisco Giants. After that, a little bit different. In his final 10 games, only one start, 14.2 innings, 6.14 ERA, 2.05 whip. Not terribly surprising that Jordan Hicks faded as the season progressed, given that he was a reliever converting to a starter. Now in his second season with the Giants, they're going to ramp him up fairly slowly. Again, only 1 1/3 innings so far this spring. We're about halfway through spring training, looking to keep him in tip-top shape for the long haul. And if the Giants can get the Jordan Hicks that we saw early last season throughout this season, the starting rotation is going to be something formidable indeed. He'll go up against the wily veteran Nick Pivetta, looking to restart his career in San Diego. Always an issue with the long ball for Nick Pivetta throughout his career. Probably not going to be much help today at Scottsdale Stadium, but perhaps when he gets to Petco Park, things will change. The Marine layer goes down south as well, folks. That's today's starter showdown in Scottsdale. Let's swing it over to Sloan Park. That's where the 26-year-old righty Landon Roop and his new nasty cutter will take the bump for the Giants today against Jameson Taillon for the Chicago Cubs. Roop has been one of the stories, if not the story of spring training for the San Francisco Giants. 3 starts so far, 8 1/3 innings pitched, 11 strikeouts, a minuscule 0.24 whip against so far in spring training. He has been magnificent and is in all likelihood the man who is going to get the 5th starter spot for the San Francisco Giants at the start of the season. And there is some heavy competition for that spot. For the Cubs, Taillon, 1 start so far this spring, allowed 1 run in 2 innings, striking out 2. Cubs, Giants, Sloan Park. Somewhere in West Arizona. I don't care. I think Mesa, Arizona. It's not Scottsdale, and that's where we're going to be sending you next for Giants and Padres. Live baseball on the radio on the Sports Leader.
KNBR 104.5 and 680, the Sports Leader.